afternoon, everybody. Today, I'd like to talk to you about, let me just move the camera a bit. Right, today I'd like to talk to you about how to win consulting clients with your personal story. Now, you might be thinking, why is that important? Well, here's why. Because if you want to win any consulting client, then you need to answer two questions. Those two questions are, number one, why should I believe, who are you and why should I believe anything that you have to say? Number two is, other consultants have promised me the world on a silver platter. Why should, and failed to deliver. So why should I believe anything that you say? Why should I believe you? So the reason why you need to tell a story is that that is the fastest way to prove that you can deliver your promises. And I'm going to walk you through an example of exactly why in just a moment. Now, let me just quickly go back to those two questions. Yeah. So who are you and why should I believe anything that you have to say? Number two, which is, other consultants have promised the world and failed to deliver. So why should I believe you? Now, they may ask you those questions directly. And if so, great. You have an opportunity to answer them. But they might not ask you them. They might just think those questions and hope that you can read their mind, yeah? Guess what? If you don't answer those questions, you will not make the sale, whether they ask you or whether they're just thinking about them. And what I'm about to share with you lets you answer those questions without bragging, without boasting. And it's a way in which you can just share a story and then make them think, you know what? I can trust this person. I want to work with them. So if you're thinking, this is all great, Roland, but I don't know how to tell a story, well, guess what? I've got some good news for you. And that is that storytelling is a skill just like any other. And therefore, it can be learned. You can learn it. So all of the great storytellers did not, they were not born knowing how to use this skill. They learned it. So the best storytelling system is called the hero's journey. And this was a term coined by Joseph Campbell. And he discovered that there is this, what he calls the hero myth, in religious stories, in folk tales and myths across the world. And all of the biggest Hollywood blockbusters use this. So the first that made it the most famous was Star Wars. Yeah, but then it's also been used in Rocky. It's been used in, cartoons like Moana. It's been used in movies like Joy. It's been used in Avatar. So it's been used in so many different mediums of, movies as well as religions and myths. Now, what I've done is I've simplified the hero's journey to make it easier to tell an inspirational personal story. And I've reduced it down to just 3 steps. Now, why 3 steps? Because guess what? People talk about a 3-act structure for, a movie, a play, a story. So that's why I've reduced it down to 3 steps. Now, the 3 steps are, number 1, setup. Number 2, challenge. Number 3, resolution. So how do you use these things? So the setup is where you say what your life looked like, yeah, then what went wrong, and what new road were you pushed down as a result of what went wrong. So let me give you an example. So an example of this is I was running some Facebook ads for a client, and the idea was to get new leads to fill a discovery event. So we're running Facebook ads, and it's working. We're getting people to register for the event, but it's very, very expensive. Now, when I say expensive, I'm talking £100 to £120 per event registrant. That's expensive. So understandably, the client said, can you reduce this, Roland? Can you reduce the cost? So it was like, okay, let's try something different. So initially, we're running Facebook ads to an event reg page, yeah? £100, £120 per registrant. What was the new system? The new system was send them to a value sequence. So the value sequence explained, who they are, why you should trust them, how they can help you. And then it invited them to register for an event. So the good news is that cut the event reg cost in half. So from £120 to £60. But it took a week to get a registrant instead of a day. So that's a bit of a challenge. The other problem was that as we then started to scale the ads, guess what? The event reg cost started to creep up. But you go, okay, well, so what? You're still getting results. But of course, that's not the big problem. The big problem is the Facebook page got banned. Facebook banned the account. That's a problem. Yeah. So what's the immediate fix? The immediate fix is set up another page. Great. Immediate fix, fill the event, everyone's happy. Of course, Facebook, guess what? They track you, they can see what you're doing, and then they go, okay, we've discovered you set up another page, we're just going to kill that page too. So, you could repeat that cycle, but what's the point? Why not try and find a permanent fix? So I knew that the permanent fix would be to advertise on a different platform. And it's a platform with a lot less competition and a platform that I've known is the way forward for several years. I just haven't used it because I didn't know how, I didn't know who could show me, and I didn't want to invest in myself. So what's the platform? The platform is YouTube. So what's the path that I was forced down? I was forced to invest in myself and to learn about YouTube ads. So that's the setup. That's what life looked like, what went wrong, and what you decided to do as a result of that. So that leads us nicely into part 2, which is the challenge. So, Google knows everything. So I found somebody that could teach me how to use YouTube ads, and they could teach me, immediately because it was an online course. What was the problem? The problem was it cost $15,000. Ooh, that's a lot of money. Yeah, that's a raid the savings account and don't tell my wife a lot of money. So I do that, I invest in myself, and what does that do? Spending that much money lit a fire under my ass. I mean, I was like, every single day, no matter what, I'm spending 5 hours a day learning this stuff. I've got to learn it fast, and I want to test it in the real world. So, after a month, I've gone through this course, I want to test it in the real world. I want to test it small, and I want to test it fast. So what I did was I ran some ads straight from a video to the event reg page. I didn't want to go through this complicated thing because I wanted to test it fast. And the good news is that it worked. The good news is that it worked a lot better than I hoped. So that is the challenge side of things, which then brings us into the resolution, which is what is the result of what happened. So the resolution is this. We ran some ads straight from video to event reg, and it cut the cost of registering to £25. So remember, we went from £120 to 25. That's an 80% cut in the cost per event reg. Like, that's amazing. Yeah. Here's the other better news. So you can get people to register immediately, and when we scaled, the cost of event reg did not creep up. And we've kept these ads running for 4 months. So I can honestly say this thing works, and it works at scale, and it works over time. So what's the moral of the story, if you like? Well, the moral of the story is that if I was to say, I can cut your event reg cost by 80%, there's a lot of people that would say, yeah, right, I don't believe that. But when you tell the story, you show, guess what? A story of what happened, what it was before, why you made a change, what difference that change had. And in doing so, you make that unbelievable promise actually believable. You make people believe that you can deliver on the promises that you make. So that is how you can use a personal story to win consulting clients. That's how you can use a personal story to make an outrageous claim believable. So now it's your turn. Yeah. Remember, look for a story. Look for a simple story and tell it with just 3 steps. Those 3 steps are setup, challenge, and resolution. When you do that, you tell a story in an interesting way. You tell a story in a way that carries, your audience with you and makes them believe the promises that you make. So if you found this useful, please leave a comment below. And until next time, carpe diem.